Bangladesh is now flooded due to man-made disaster. Indian Minister Mr. Ratan Lal Nath opens up on BBC Bangla. The propaganda being done about opening the Dumbur Gate is nothing but propaganda. None of the gates of Gamatiya hydropower station have been opened. His statement clearly indicates due to heavy rainfall and water level rise, the gates had been opened by its own. Wah, what a bold logical statement. Doesn't this remark seem such illogical that I have a pet fox at my home? When it gets hungry, it comes out and eats my neighbor's hens and ducks on its own. Although this is the process of the nature, but I'm not accountable for that. My dear Indian brothers, I'm going to expose the crime of your country today. I'm going to speak up for the international law you have broken by illegally controlling the international flow of waters with the dams and barrages for years. I'm going to speak up about how your ministry and the officers in charge are telling lies. I'm going to expose how your media is spreading those lies and gaining international sympathy. Today, it will be proved that India can never be a friendly country. Rather, how you have created enemies all around your borders. Of course, none is supposed to be a friend with you if you repeatedly make international agreements and break them. China on one side, Pakistan on the other, Maldives and Bangladesh on the other too. Do you have a good relationship with anyone? Some 4.5 million people were affected by the floods in eastern Bangladesh. And the reason is not a natural calamity, but rather a man-made disaster. The language of this video is English so that the international audience can understand the actual scenario, cross-check and catch up on the lies of Indian media. So let's start the video. April 1975, just a fine morning and a normal day in Bangladesh. But as a date in the calendar, this day will be remembered as one of the symbols of injustice. On this date, the Farakka Barrage became operational. But the story begins a long time ago. According to the history and Wikipedia, construction of Farakka Barrage started in 1962, which cost nearly $1 billion. Perhaps the construction of the barrage was made for the internal geographical interest of India. However, the plan never worked out and backfired on its own, as per the law of nature. About 70% of the total population of Bangladesh and about 50% of Indian population live in the Ganges basin. 43% of the total irrigated area in India is also in the Ganges basin, and there are more than 100 urban settlements with a total population of about 120 million on its banks. Since the beginning of Bangladesh, many politicians, including Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, have tried to reach a peaceful agreement on the Farakka project. Ask me, did it work out? Never. In 1975, Sheikh Mujib signed an agreement with India regarding the sharing of Ganges water through Farakka Barrage. According to the book The Ganges Water Dispute by B.M. Abbas, after the assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on 15 August 1975, relations between two countries became greatly strained and India continued to withdraw water even after the agreed period. The diversions led to a crisis situation in Bangladesh in the dry season of 1976. My dear friendly country India, can you tell me why? Is your so-called friendship only with Sheikh Mujib or Sheikh family or with Bangladesh? Because as soon as Sheikh Mujib died, you started forgetting the agreement. Does it mean after the fall of fascist Sheikh Hasina, you have decided to again open up the gates of the dams without informing us? Is there any political motive behind these? Question arises. Throughout the history, India has made numbers of barrages to control the river flows. Question arises, is this legal or an international crime? However, is the flood caused by the opening of the Dumbur Dam without informing the Bangladeshi government turns into natural or man-made calamity. Ain't they full of lies and political propaganda? Or perhaps India doesn't consider anyone other than the Sheikh family as the government of Bangladesh, so they didn't feel the need of informing officially. To answer these questions, we must dive into the analysis of the recent scenario of the Dumbur Dam case and what happened after that. A large area of Bangladesh have been affected by the floods. There are two main reasons for the flooding. Number 1. The water level in the river has risen due to heavy rainfall in Tripura and other parts of the northeast India. The eastern part of Bangladesh has also received heavy rainfall and the water level of the river has increased. And 2. The floodwaters suddenly increased on Wednesday night due to the opening of the gates of the Dumbur Dam on the Gond River in Tripura, India. According to a prominent Bangladeshi newspaper, Prothom Alo, although the people of Bangladesh have been affected by the opening of the dam, India hasn't shared any information about the dam with Bangladesh. This is a direct quotation and the news link in the description box. Indian High Commissioner says, due to the rising water, the dams has just opened by its own, they have not opened. Wow. Interesting statement, ain't it? Even the statement was true. It was India's responsibility to inform Bangladesh in advance that the dam could be opened or by taking time during the day. By giving Bangladesh time to take preparations and by discussing the gradual release of water from the dam. It's true that dams on the Indian side will have to be opened as their reservoirs will not be able to hold water. But it's a matter of good management to estimate the amount of rain in advance and from when the water should be released a little. In the absence of this management, there occurred a man-made disaster. But why it's being labeled as a man-made disaster? What India should have done? I tell you, India should have shared the dam's real-time information with Bangladesh and ensuring the share of Bangladesh in their decision-making bodies. But this didn't happen. So far, there are 54 common rivers between Bangladesh and India. India has dammed 30 of these 54 rivers, and as a result of these dams and barrages, the amount of damage Bangladesh has faced, it can be said in a cold head that India is a water thief country. India has broken international law and which is by the book a criminal offense. According to the law of the non-navigational uses of international watercourses of the United Nations effective from 2014, Article 5 says, shared international waters must be used by all the countries in an equitable and reasonable way. According to Article 18, it's an obligation to regularly exchange data and information. India is regularly ignoring this spirit of international law even up to this date. Moreover, India is not in conflict with Bangladesh over this transboundary river. They show similar behavior with the other neighbor countries like Pakistan, Nepal and Bhutan too. Indian Minister Mr. Ratan Lal Nath opens up on BBC Bangla. The propaganda being done about opening the Dumbur Gate is nothing but propaganda. None of the gates of Gomadia hydropower station have been opened. His statement clearly indicates due to heavy rainfall and water level rise, the gates had been opened by its own. Wah, what a bold logical statement. Doesn't this remark seem such illogical that I have a pet fox at my home? When it gets hungry, it comes out and eats my neighbor's hens and ducks on its own. Although this is the process of the nature, but I'm not accountable for that. My dear Indian brothers, tell me one thing, who told you to pet a fox? I mean, why on earth do you control the flow of the rivers? I really don't understand. Those who work behind these dam construction projects in India, are they really any expert at all? Because the data shows they have built about 5,000 dams on different rivers all over India and brought disaster for themselves. Across much of the South Asia, rivers are drying up, dams are repeatedly forcing to change the water courses. River erosions are massive now. Thousands of people are being displaced, losing their homes and shelters. Man-made floods and droughts are getting occurred, and we, Bangladeshis, are the most sufferers of all these calamities. And if this continues, our future will be more big and the days are not so far. Now, tell me one thing, keeping those dams active and making numerous man-made disasters, can even possibly justified by any of the human ethics or just a gameplay of politics. We Bangladeshi people can now suggest you two options for the betterment of both of us. Either you demolish the dams and let the rivers flow on its own, or now we are demanding an international justice. For the people who died in flood, lost their homes in river erosion, for the farmers who lost their land and crops in drought, and for hijacking international water, we are now demanding justice for humanity.